Blue Hens, thank you very much. Thank you for having me today. It's an absolute honor to be here. As the father of an Army captain, the father-in-law of a Navy SEAL, it is a day that resonates with me. As an advocate for those who are struggling against the scourge of veteran suicide, I have to tell you, your very presence here today invigorates me. Sadly, we've learned on our journey through veteran suicide that we know that one of the common denominators is isolation. Your very presence and the presence of the students that surround you here today answers the clarion call, the antidote to isolation, connection. Believe it or not, you are being watched by our veterans at this very moment. They want to see how we, especially as civilians, are reacting to their sacrifice. Your ability to come together sends a signal to all our veterans that they are not in this journey alone, that we are all in this journey together. Veterans Day is very special to me, not just because it's a day to say thank you. I think that is so cliche. If we are really going to live the life our veterans expect us to live, we don't have to say thank you. We have to live thank you. Our veterans want us to dig our feet firmly into the sands and the land that they worked so hard to protect. And all they ask in return is that we live lives worthy of the sacrifices that they have made. And I promise you that if we are willing to live those kind of lives, that we can be the light, not just in the joy of their day, but in the very dark and disorienting night. That light can only be lit if we are willing to live lives worthy of their service. Some 450 years ago, a pastor by the name of John Winthrop sailed across the Atlantic on a ship called the Arbella. And while the waves pounded the hull of that ship and the waters breached its deck and the mist hit the faces of the settlers that were headed for a new land that lacked the persecution that they escaped, Pastor Winthrop said to them that perhaps, like it says in Matthew 5:14, that they weren't chasing a city on the hill. Perhaps they were to come to become the city on the hill. But he warned them that if they were going to become the city on the hill, if they were going to be a light for generations to see, that it came with a grave responsibility, that they must not just bear arms to protect it, but they must join arms with integrity and sacrifice and dedication to each other. They must be the light for generations to see. That light, that vision, that sacrifice, that integrity is exactly what Delaware veterans have been fighting for over 250 years. Delaware, oh Delaware, you haven't just crossed oceans. You've crossed centuries. Delaware veterans have broken the bonds with the tyrannical reign of England. They raised arms against the oppression of slavery. They came to this country as immigrants to jump in boats and planes and return to the land that they left to fight on our behalf in foreign wars. They suffered in the cold of Korea They raised their chins and threw their shoulders back after they returned after a decade of struggling, only to face the indignities of their return from Vietnam. They left and said goodbye to their battle buddies in the sands of the Middle East and the mountains of Afghanistan. Delaware has been at this a long time. But it's not just names and concepts. For goodness gracious, we have 2 Gold Star mothers in our midst here today. Delaware and our families have been sacrificing since the very beginning. Just 40 or 50 miles south of here, in the town of Dover, a young man stricken with cancer. His face was so disfigured that before he jumped on his horse, he covered it with a cloth because he had gotten the signal that it was his time to race to Philadelphia, to put his light on that city on the hill on behalf of Delaware and change the trajectory of not just this state, not just his community, but this country and the world. In 1830, an Irishman by the name of Bernard McCarran sailed from his homeland of Ireland to make way in Delaware, only to find a country that had been fractured by a division between the North and the South, concepts he had never even heard about. And suddenly, he was thrust into a battle to fight an oppressor. He could have returned to Ireland just as safe, but no. He donned a blue outfit, grabbed an arm, and moved swiftly to a little town north of here called Gettysburg. After 4 long days, that newly minted immigrant rushed across Pickett's charge, grabbed the flag from the enemy, completely disoriented them, allowing the Union Army to pivot the Battle of Gettysburg, to pivot the war, and to set our entire country on a new trajectory. That's the kind of Delaware veteran you produced. Ray Fermani was the eldest of a beautiful Italian family in Ellesmere, Delaware. His father died of the noxious gases that he returned from fighting in the trenches of World War I. He was exempt from entering battle in World War II, but when he knew his brother would be sent in his stead, Ray Fermani raised his hand. On behalf of Delaware, he said, "Send me." And so Ray Fermani joined the United States Air Force, jumped in a B-17 airplane, an airplane that was doomed to death 1 in every 4 flights. And as he penned a letter to his mother that says, "If I don't make it, but I hope I return," he didn't write that letter once. He didn't write that letter twice. He wrote that letter 25 times as he got in the air on your behalf, never asking for anything in return. And on that 25th flight, he landed safely to spend an entire lifetime becoming the light of Delaware high upon that hill. Bobby Baldwin was a young African American from Newcastle, probably playing baseball months before he suddenly found himself as the tip of the spear of the United States Marine Corps in a town he had never heard or seen of before called Fool Luck. Never in a million years did Bobby expect the mortar rounds to be coming in with the ferocity that they did. Bobby was part of the United States Marine Corps Signal Corps on our behalf. He was in charge of making sure that the command had communication with the front lines so that they could keep those boys alive. But the mortar rounds came in so fast and furiously, they blew Bobby's camp apart. They ruined the signal lines. And he did what any kid from Newcastle would do. he jumped on the ground, crawled on his belly amongst the wreckage and the carnage and the death around him. And Bobby Baldwin put those wires together and brought those boys home. And he's never asked for anything in return. But if you saw Bobby Baldwin today, which you can, somehow that young man still fits into his United States Marine Corps uniform. He shines his pearly lights, and on a daily basis, he is the light upon that city. Liz Lonke was a beautiful young lady from Padua Academy, right up the street from here. Liz wanted all the kids in her class to live a great life, a heart of gold, the light of her class. So when 9/11 happened, Liz did what every girl would do. She volunteered for the United States Air Force Bomb Detonation Group. Liz died in that line of service so that we could be here today. Liz's flag sits behind us with a flag of Stephen McGowan. I met Stephen McGowan at his funeral as I passed his mother and his sister. Stephen went to St. Mark's High School right here in Newark, Delaware. Stephen was the light of Delaware in a war-torn country of Iraq. Do you know how I know that? Because when people asked Stephen what he wanted for Christmas, Stephen said, "Send me Beanie Babies." He took those Beanie Babies and gave them out to the Iraqi children so that each one of those children knew who you were. He wanted the kids of Iraq to know that Delaware was a light on the hill. Until an IED took him out just days before his return. Ladies and gentlemen, the list is too long. There's 7,000 behind you. The books are replete with Delawareans with equally heroic stories who served abroad and who served on the mainland. But it's a reminder that 1% of us, just 1% of us, decides to voluntarily stand between us and harm. And so my call for us, especially our civilian group today, is I ask us the question, are the 99% of us ready to stand between them and harm? Are we ready to live a life differently that reflects the sacrifice that they gave? Are we ready to live lives worthy of their sacrifice? Because that is what we are called to do on Veterans Day. Certainly we want to say thank you. But ladies and gentlemen, we are called to live lives of thank you. We are called to live lives worthy of the service of our veterans. So I ask you, as our journey continues, and the rough and tumble waves of the sea of discourse and discontent and disagreement and social media and mass media and neighbor versus neighbor pound the waves of our ship, and that mist rises above while we're on the deck, and it hits our face in the forms of the tears of our veterans who want to know what the heck we are doing to demonstrate our lives on their behalf. I ask us, are we ready to commit to live a life worthy of their service? Because if we are, we can be their light of joy, not just in the day, but in the darkness of their night. As I close, I ask God certainly to bless our active duty military who stands on watch for us at this very moment. I ask God to bless the families of our veterans, the families of our fallen. But on behalf of the veteran community, I ask God to give us the wisdom and the courage to live differently, to live lives worthy of their service, so that if we can, when we link arms with our veterans, we can charge that mountain, climb to the top of that city on the hill, and light our lights individually so that the oppressed can see who we are for generations to come. Delaware, oh Delaware, I thank you for having me here today. God bless and happy Veterans Day.